pretty much all of my teachers in the theater department had a positive effect on me from acting teachers to movement teachers to combat teachers to everything in between. It really was an amazing program. My name is Greg Jackson. I'm currently in about my third month of touring with the Broadway production of To Kill a Mockingbird. And I went to University of Iowa way back in the 80s. And I had a wonderful 4 years in the theater department there. I got my BA in theater. And from there, I went straight to New York, where I got my MFA at NYU's Tisch acting program. Not really a hard knock story, but it was a challenge. A lot of people want to go to these three biggies, Juilliard, Yale, and NYU, because they're very connected schools in terms of industry, and most of these schools have a big showcase at the end of the final year where casting people and agents all come. Pretty much as a rule, if you're in the program at NYU, you're going to get signed. There's going to be a bunch of agents knocking at your door when you do the showcase. And as it happens, I was the only member of my class who wasn't signed, had no agent interest, which was devastating. I started working with my dear friend Erin Quinn Purcell, who I had known since the first day of freshman orientation at the theater department. We started writing together. I started creating work for myself. When I couldn't get work, I started writing. And we ended up having a big, splashy off-Broadway hit that started from a No Shame Theater sketch that I did when I was still at Iowa. We took it and we expanded it, and Erin was working with a little company called the Adobe Theater Company in New York City, doing downtown theater. And we were able to parlay that little sketch into a splashy Valentine review in the New York Times, half-page ad, half-page review, just like beaming. And then we started to get great reviews everywhere else, and suddenly there were lines around the block. And then the play got picked up by big producers and didn't do great. It only ran for a few months, but it was such an affirmation that I had learned from Iowa and through No Shame Theater, which was something my generation invented while we were there, that you can make your own work, that you can, and being that exposed to the writing program, just and all the experimentation that went on there, it was hugely, it just buoyed me during times where I felt like I was up against an industry that didn't want me, and allowed me to say, okay, well, I'll just do my own thing. And that I think that as a rule tends to be hugely successful for anybody when they start to recognize their own voice. And as a result, we ended up getting published. I'm a published playwright, something I never ever expected to happen. But there it is. So, and I think I owe all of that to Iowa and the Playwrights Workshop and No Shame Theater. Yeah. And the people that started it. Iowa was really where I got started in the arts. There were people in my family history, like my grandfather was a musician. There were some people who had artistic abilities in my family line, but in my home there was just not a lot of that kind of exposure. So I kind of stumbled my way into everything. When we moved to Iowa, I think that's where the strength of the music programs that they had in school kind of really were able to pull me into this whole world. In the ensemble, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful cast and group of people, just so lovely and supporting, and a big cast because we're a whole town. Between there's I think about 24 of us all told, and so it's like being a part of a small town, being in this cast, and everybody's so lovely. And I got to play this court stenographer and one of the mob members and the kindly doctor at the end of the show. Um, and then on top of that, I also understudy the judge and I understudy Link Dees, the town drunk, and also a character called Cunningham and Boo Radley. So I get to have this wonderful range of really beautifully written characters that I get to work on and play sometimes. And I'll be playing Link in Iowa City, so I'm super excited about that.